on that, so it's 100% my Wi-Fi.
I've got a feeling it could be my Wi-Fi as well, because I was having a few issues earlier when I was watching Tiger King. It kept stalling, so it could be both of us. We don't know, but I think the Facebook feed is slightly behind Zoom. But forget about the Facebook feed for now. Just keep that aside. Focus on Zoom. I hit record a few seconds ago, so we are on. This is the SHB Unfiltered podcast, daily podcast number
13. Today.
Lucky 13. Missed Friday by one day, bro. But lucky 13.
Yeah, I wanted to be Friday the 13th, but just wasn't to be timing.
You said the opposite yesterday, and we got that on record as well.
What, that I wanted it to not be?
Yeah.
No, I swear I said, well, I have to watch the recording back.
We'll check afterwards.
I swear I said, how mad would it be? Or something like that.
Yeah, but we'll leave that for later on, Chris. For later on. So we are episode 13. This is the only podcast with people who stutter, running daily feeds every single day. We are on Facebook, links up there. We are open for Q&A from friends, the wider community, and anyone who wants to be our friend, really. Even if you don't like us, put some comments in, show some dislikes, come on. Express yourselves, don't worry. We're big boys. We run daily podcasts.
Take it.
Daily podcasts during lockdown, because we are in London. We're currently in lockdown. And as long as we're in lockdown, we are locked in with the podcast. So, Chris, I've got some cool stuff that I wanted to bring up today. Cool stuff, I mean topical questions that we can both talk around. So it won't just be me like putting you in the firing line on the spot. I haven't prepped you beforehand, which is perfect. But I know you will be reeling off that gold one at a time. But and at some point I will have to mention Tiger King, because my God, I can't get that series out of my head.
Let me watch it first, and then we can have a real good discussion.
Like, one of my friends would refer to it as EastEnders with a bigger budget. Ding dong. Oh, Ayo Desania's joined us.
Yo.
Ayo, what's up, man? We're literally just starting now, so you literally, metaphorically, rhetorically, and figuratively have not missed anything yet.
That's good, that's good.
Can you speak up a bit as well, because you seem a bit quiet from my end. Can we all hear each other properly, first of all?
Yeah.
I just want to try and get the volumes around the same level, so the recording comes out sweet. Go and test. Say something, Ayo. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Mr. Ayo.
Speak up a bit more.
Don't stop holding back.
Yeah, just to keep that volume throughout. And Chris is all right. So we're going to get going. So, so today, something I've been thinking about for the past 2 or 3 hours, which I thought would be a great way to kick off this episode and see where it leads us. The topic of today is, how do you measure speech success? So if you're embarking on WOMS, what is your way of measuring progress and success? Do you count the number of blocks you have every day? Do you see what has troubled you before and how you are responding in those situations? Or is it just simply you guys just doing, or us guys doing really cool stuff that we couldn't do before? How would you measure speech success, and how could you really record it for future analysis? So the floor is open to both of you to air your views. Let's go.
I want to ask a question back. When you say, how do you measure your progress, at what stage are you starting to measure? Are we talking about early on in journey? Are we talking about a month after you started? Are we talking about 6 months after you started? Because The reason why I ask that is in my personal journey, I was measuring success in a different way at different stages. Early on, I would measure it. I would get quite excited about my level of fluency, and I would measure it on that in situations where I felt like I wasn't going to be able to be fluent previous to working on my speech. But then as I got further along, I realized that measuring level of fluency isn't the way to go because you get so hung up on it. Rather, it's more important to look at where you were and where you are now. What's your attitude like? What's your mentality like? What's your whole thought process before you enter a speaking situation? Are you excited about it? Are you nervous about it? That's how I begun to measure my progress.
So just to summarize that, would you say you look more at your emotions rather than your actual speech output?
Yeah, because eventually you're going to block, right? So if you're always hung up on the number of blocks you have, then you are going to drive yourself crazy.
You're in trouble, son.
Yeah, you're going to drive yourself mad. And later on down the line, once you have reached the inevitable blip, I call it a blip, I don't like the word relapse, it is just a blip and it happens. What is your attitude moving forward after that? That determines how far you've come, how much you've progressed, how many challenges you've taken on in that period of time to transform the way you think about your stutter. And that's when I realized how far I had come, and that monitoring the number of blocks was just, it was almost holding me back from progressing even further.
Yeah, if you did have like an automated way of doing it, then it's completely different. But if you're kind of going about your day with like a tally book in your pocket, then it isn't the most constructive use of your time, and then you start to forget about the bigger picture, which is, I think, more important. I always bring it back to the football analogies, but do you think like strikers are walking around checking out their kilometers covered and passes completed and their percentages? If they're banging goals, they're banging goals.
Yeah, well, for me, I think it just depends on where you're starting from. Like Chris already said, it depends where you are in your journey. So if you're just starting out and you haven't had any speech therapy or good speech therapy or speech coaching, then you have to set your expectations, right? So I would focus on, if I had to start again, just focus on trying to speak under control, because at that point in time, that's what is most important to me, and that's more realistic than trying to just do things which are not in the present time possible in my mind. So I would focus on just being able to communicate more effectively. But I guess as time goes on, you learn that controlling the stutter is not the most important thing. It helps to have control, but it's not the most important thing. And then you learn to strike a balance between controlling your stutter and actually trying to evolve your personality more so than trying to control just the stutter.
So in the beginning, you would place more emphasis on working on your fundamental technique and and your speech progress then would be monitored on how well you are applying that technique, right? Is that what you're trying to get at? So in certain situations, how well you are applying that technique, if you have a mentor or coach or anything, like if they're telling you to apply it in these situations with family, friends, work, and if you're doing it and see progress and get that emotional positive feedback, then that can be a measure of progress. Then later on, pushing yourself to do a few more things. But how long do these stages last for? So when you say in the beginning, and when Chris said, when he asked my question back, how long would you envision these stages to last for? Because I know you're going to say that it's going to vary for different people, but at what point do you know that personally that now it's a time to take things up a level?
Go on, Chris, want to
I
speak?
thought you were going to say something. I would say
Oh, no, sorry, go on, man. Go on, you speak.
no. Go.
No, man, no, Chris is all right.
One of you talk. Hey, quiet. Chris, go. Stop it.
Okay, I would personally say that when you have reached a point where the majority of your everyday life tasks, you begin to feel no tension at all, that is the time to take it up a notch. That for me took me personally, January, took me about 5 months, 6 months. But you have to realize with me personally, I was obsessed with it. It became part of my every second of the day. I was focused on working on my speech. It was part of my mentality. You got to realize the difference between my journey and other people's journey is AO and Simon Bailey. They were helping me in everyday situations. My course, if you like, was in my real world environment. So I already had belief that it worked in the real world. So I was just obsessed with expanding on that and finding out more and more and more. So it took me 5 months personally every day. Someone that goes to a course, leaves, then isn't sure how to really effectively put it into the real world and trying to work it out. It could take more to get to the point where you feel no tension in any of your everyday life speaking situations.
If you want a figure, a year, that's the minimum. That's from experience. You need to give people a year. And though you might get some who are like, yeah, I've got it now after 3-4 months, I can self-coach. I would encourage them to just stick to the basics for at least a whole year. Try and stick to the basics. And then if you can last a year, you can do what you want after that.
The one whole
Just
year, 12 months.
Make sure it's ingrained. If you're not receiving one-on-one coaching with a person like me, you or Chris, if you're just by yourself, you have a little community helping you, but they're not coaches, I would say you need a whole year. Stick to the foundation. Because if you get too complacent, way too early on, it's a world of pain. It's trouble.
Yeah.
And you will get so disheartened that you might not return. So you really have to, you really need to manage your own expectations and don't get too in front of yourself. Even if you feel like you're on a roll, you're on fire and you can't stutter ever again, trust me, you will stutter again. That's a guarantee.
100%.
What would you say then if someone approached you guys and they had all the like ingredients and tools to go through the program and take on all the challenges, but they were very unrealistic with their expectations. By expectations, I mean things they wanted to achieve within certain time frames. And from your experience, you would kind of err on the side of caution and prepare them for like prepare them for when they may not achieve those goals during their time frame. How would you like kind of coax them into being a bit more patient?
Well, I would ask them, what are they basing their time frame on? Because usually you base your time frame on comparing someone else's progress. The first step of the course is to manage people's expectations, is to provide full transparency. So that's what I would be focusing on very early on, managing expectations. And part of managing expectations is to not expect too much too soon. And that's what a lot of people do, because on a lot of programs, people meet people that have been doing it for a long time. So they're talking to people that are talking very well, very fluent, and that's all they know very early on. It's not clear to them what is involved in reaching that point. It's not clear to them how long it took that individual. They just think, well, he got there, I'm asking him, so perhaps he can tell me the shortcut. That's not how working on your speech works. You need to experience everything. So managing expectations is key.
Yeah, and you also need to focus on what's important to you in your day-to-day life, not try to join a Toastmasters or do these massive public speeches in your old primary school. That stuff is irrelevant, because that type of activity will not translate into your day-to-day life. It's not, because it's not the same. It's a different scenario. It's a different environment. So you need to focus on what you face every day in your day-to-day life, and you need to work on your speech in that way. And that type of work will then translate into these grand speeches you might decide to do, or these grand things you decide to do in the future. But you have to start small. And like Chris said, you need to manage your own expectations and not demand too much from yourself. Do not set yourself up for failure by demanding that you make a public speech in some fancy way, and it's just not going to help. It's just not going to help. You just focus on stuff that you do on a day-to-day.
Cheers, guys. I do have to maybe slightly disagree with one point you made about Toastmasters, because it can, as in, if Toastmasters is your goal, then I do agree with you. But Toastmasters can be used as your training ground, because I've seen material improvements in my communication in the real world from simply just practicing at Toastmasters. Because at Toastmasters, you do get different types of people. There's some who just want to get a bit of confidence, do it for a few months or do it for a year, and then leave completely. Some who really buy into it and want to like win every tournament and have been part of it for like 20, 30 years, become president of their club, president of the area, president of the region. They want to reach the top. Then you got others who've been part of it for a long time, but they kind of like drop into their club for a few weeks, Dropout, they do other public speaking stuff and different things. So these are like your different groups. And for if you are part of it for practice, and by practice it means it's part of your training, you're implementing kind of different targets you have. So if you want to practice a certain technique, you use it a few times there, but it shouldn't just be going there, telling everyone you got a stutter and like getting hugs and stuff afterwards. That's all great, but that's not going to improve you in the long term. I do agree with the school stuff. The school stuff is cool, but it isn't a game changer in the real world. It can help other people, but it obviously depends on the content as well in the end. Because everyone in the end has their own view on stuttering. And I guess in a weird way, like if there are kids down there who stutter and they see you talking, they will want solutions or answers and help. And if you go in there just to spread awareness and they come to you for help, then do you have the answers at that point for them and their parents? So that's why I'm always wary about kind of school speeches, because be prepared to actually take things to like the next level with that school. Don't just drop in and use that school as a platform and then say goodbye to them, because there will be people there with like, oh my God, like I've got family or friends who stutter and they need help, but you're long gone. Back to the main theme of today, so how to measure speech success. So see, currently, how would you like assess your speech? So you've been working on your speech now for a couple of years. Has anything changed in the way you measure speech since the start? And what kind of things are you looking at now at an advanced stage?
Can you repeat the first point of the question, because it froze a little bit?
Man, okay, I'm joking. So how would you guys measure your speech now, as you've been working on your speech for a couple of years? So you're at a more advanced stage than people maybe just joining. So how would you reflect on yourselves and really assess? Do you get more critical? Do you have higher standards or higher expectations? Or do you look for different things that you weren't really looking for at the start? And how has that affected the way you work on your speech?
Well, I assess now the relationships that I'm able to build now. And that comes from being more happy with the way that it's more happy with the way that I approach every speaking situation now. Rather as where before I was just trying to get every word out. Now it's not just a case of do not stutter. It's a case of being able to build a relationship, get something good out of the conversation. Now I'm more focused on my willingness to take on these speaking challenges. And even though the fear may be there in certain situations, it's the excitement to want to take it on. And that's what has changed for me now as opposed to the first year. And that's how I measure my success, is the willingness. And regardless of what happens, I'm still taking on that speaking challenge.
Yeah, that's so true, because it's extremely important to understand why you want good communication skills, why you want to improve your speech. What's the purpose of you working on your speech? What's the purpose of you buying a program, going on these courses and spending your time and your energy? Why? So once you have that why, that's how I judge myself. So if I'm working on my speech and then I'm doing more things, I'm improving my life, I'm speaking to people, I'm enjoying myself speaking, then it's justified. And that is not necessarily meaning that I am more fluent. Although that is often the case, it's not the main point. The point is I am working on my speech and therefore at the same time working on myself. And as long as I'm seeing results in my real life, with my friends, family, my work, my colleagues, then it's great. It's working.
I've got a question here though, because I think we have spoken about it before, and we are on Facebook Live as well, I'm aware, but I have to ask you, maybe at some point in the past, half a year ago, maybe a bit longer, I do think your speech was kind of a lot more stronger. There was more energy. I could feel a lot more passion in your voice, and I know you've had quite a few things happen in your personal life that have applied pressure, and it's taken a lot out of you. But that's going to be life in the end. So how do you move forward and keep applying these principles? Because you know from your experience that there are times when speech, it isn't the most important thing in the world. It's somewhere a lot lower down on your list of priorities. But how do you still carry on? Because for a lot of people, setbacks they're going to happen. They're going to happen, right? People go through problems. And if you're working on something for long enough, for years and years and years, how do you react from big life-changing problems and just find the energy to carry on?
It's easy. At the end of the day, you need communication to get on in life. If you can't communicate, you're in trouble. And that goes for anyone in life. If you have a stutter or not, you have to be able to communicate to your fellow man, to your boss, to your workers, to your girlfriend, your wife, your friends. You have to be able to communicate a message across to get taken seriously. Yeah. So I know that in my heart. So I will not allow myself to get to a position where I cannot speak or I'm struggling every single word. And that's where you have to learn to strike a balance between working on your speech in a very strict way, trying to control your stutter all the time versus not allowing that mentality to stop you from moving forward or sounding too much like you're focused on just how you're speaking and not what you're saying or what you're speaking. So I've always known that, and I hold myself accountable for that. So I will never allow my speech to get to a point where I know in my heart I'm really struggling, and it's therefore affecting my progress in my day-to-day life. So that's what I do. I always keep myself in check. Speech right now for me is not as important as it was a year and a half ago because I am happy with how I sound at this level. To get to the point I got to a year and a half ago, I was working on my speech every day. And I thought about speaking too much. I was focused on sounding perfect, making sure that people I speak to see me as this god, that this guy don't start anymore that much. He's almost fluent. He's the guy. To me, right now, that's not important. I don't really care about that stuff. I care about trying to be successful, not just in the stuttering world, but in the normal world. You know what I mean? I want to be successful, not just in stuttering, but on a grander scale. And me trying to sound perfect every single time I open this mouth, it's a hindrance. Sometimes you just have to speak, stuttering or not.
Do you think sometimes are you there's that inner fear inside? Do you ever look over your shoulder and think at some point like it's gonna get me, it's gonna get me, it's gonna get me? Because if you have like spent some energy trying to reach a certain level, you climb and climb and climb and climb and climb, and as soon as you take your foot off the gas, you kind of slip a little bit, you're gonna fall off and be back to where you were. Is there any chance of you actually going back to square one?
No, because I've built a foundation. There's no way. That old guy a few years ago, nah, he's dead. I will never, ever go back to feeling sorry for myself about my start to the extent where I just give up on life. Because you know what? No one on this earth is gonna save me but me. And I've learned that a couple of times. So I just have to get on with it. And if I am struggling too much, I have to take personal responsibility and work on my speech more. That's all. You have to be honest with yourself. If you know in your heart you're afraid of a speaking situation, then you know what to do. Work on your speech. And if you decide not to work on your speech, that's your own fault. And that's the end of the conversation.
What's your advice for and people working on their speech who have had like some serious obstacles that aren't really speech related, but just life obstacles, and they lose sense of priorities at times because things can change very quickly for that brief period of time, but how do they then kind of like reclaim, as in get back to where they were? Because you know as well, Chris, like when you're doing something again and again, you build up the momentum, the muscle memory, and then get your routine, where when you're in your routine, you can achieve so much because you are thriving, achieving, getting positive feedback from yourself, from other people. But then when something hits you and your whole routine is gone, priorities change. How did you react? Because that in itself is massive, because quite a lot of people who embark on this journey of WOMs and practicing the speech and all different types of things, so many people, the reason why they may slip off is because things just hit them and they did not see it coming. They did not see it coming. Look at the crisis outside with coronavirus. So much our lifestyles now have changed, and they may change permanently because this could be the new normal, and people have lost family and friends, and people are ill. People are just scared to go to each other's houses now. So how do you react from obstacles and change? How did you react? And why are you still like in this mindset? How do you keep it?
Because it all links back to what we were talking about before, managing expectations. When you are conscious of what is happening around you and you know, okay, this is a situation that isn't speech related, but this is putting a lot of pressure on me, I'm under a lot of stress, it all comes back to being aware of it and managing expectations, knowing that speech may not be as strong as it usually is. When you don't manage your expectations, that's when the panic begins to set in. If anything happens and you start to block, or you start to experience more tension and more anxiety and more stress around your speech. When you almost appreciate, okay, this is going to happen, then you're in a better state of mind to start working on it again. And you accept the fact that you have to take it back a notch. You have to go back to basics almost. You have to get over the fact that, okay, it could be a little bit demoralizing because you've come so far. Now you have to take it back and go again. But it's like if you walk into a gym after 6 months and you try to lift the same weight as you were lifting before and you haven't been training, you ain't going to be able to lift it. And you can't get disheartened by that. You need to understand it's because you haven't been going to the gym for the last 6 months. So you have to start off on a lower weight and you have to build yourself back up. And it's the same with our speech.
And
go on.
What you need to do as well, the most important thing to do if you're struggling with your speech is to ask your friends for support. Like, you can't do this alone. I was struggling in life a few months ago and I had enough, and I had a bad phone call where I was stuttering so much. It was a sales call. So
what's a bad phone call for you, Aya? Just expand a bit about it, because everyone has their own idea of what bad is. So it'll be good to actually gauge what that bad was, so you can put it into perspective for whoever's listening.
So a bad phone call for me at that time was stuttering on every single damn word. And I was stuttering, man. I couldn't say nothing. I was trying to sell this person a service and I couldn't even get my name out. After like 3-4 attempts, I got the name out and I could really tell it's gone. This person is not interested. This person has lost all the confidence in me because I just came across really scared, really stressed out. My voice was really quiet and I was just stuttering. And that was the first time in a very, 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 very long time that I had an experience like that. And I reached out. At first I was very disheartened and I thought, you know what, it's over. I quit. Yeah, but I learned a lesson again. I learned the same lesson that I learned before, and that's that I can always go back. I can always go back. So I should always set my expectations and always reach out for support. And that's what I did eventually. And my support was Chris, yourself, Ruben, Simon Bailey, and the mash, and that really helped me a ton because I was able to come back from that and learn from that experience. And now I always work on my speech in some respect, so because I do not want that experience to ever occur again. But at the same time, that experience could happen again. But it's okay because I know I have my support around me. I have my friends around me to make sure that I can always come back. And that's the most important thing. You can't go through life. You can't go through life alone. You need your friends and you need support, or else you're gonna struggle. So that's the biggest lesson I've learned on this journey since beginning to work on my speech.
I think it's important to point out though, Ayo, as well, as you described, that phone call was the breaking point for you, right? But you know, a little bit before that, was you already experiencing things in your personal life that was making you not as focused on your speech? And then you, if we use the gym analogy again, making that sales phone call, was that you walking into the gym after a few months trying to lift 120 kg on the bench press straight away?
McD's every day. KFC.
Yeah.
Go on here.
I would say partly, yeah. Yeah, partly for sure, for sure. I wasn't working on my speech as much for a period of time, but more than the working on the speech with the techniques, it was just my mindset wasn't there. I wasn't confident in myself. I wasn't confident in my abilities to even sell the service in the first place. But yes, I wasn't working on my speech as much, and that played a massive role, because if I had felt confident in my ability to communicate, just on my ability to speak, maybe I would have performed better.
And when you say confident to communicate, do you mean in terms of, how do I put this? Do you mean in terms of confident to show the listener that you're working on your speech, confident to advertise, or just confident to get your words out?
I think that's both. That could be put together. I wasn't confident in my ability just to speak, because I wasn't using the technique, the foundational principles that work. But again, I was stressed out with life, so it all fits together. I wasn't in the right mindset to begin with, and I wasn't using any technique. So on this hand, no technique, and this hand, no mindset, put together.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
A disaster.
Yeah.
Now, lads, I'm going to do something quickly. I just need you guys to tell me if this works. I'm going to play a video in the background. And I was wanting you guys to tell me if you can hear it. If you can hear it, it should appear on the video. I'm going to hit play right now. Can you hear it? Give me a second, 1 minute. I'm going to do it this way then. Hang tight, my viewers, my colleagues, my friends. Well, what about now?
How are you doing, guys? It's AL. I've just got back from Never Work Again. For those of you who don't know what that is,
How loud
it's
is
a
it?
personal development program run by Success Resources, and I've got some thoughts in my head, and I want to let them out before I go to bed. It's 11 p.m. UK time. For those of you around the world who are watching this video, I just want to talk about my experience and what I've been going through lately. So, I have a stutter. I know a lot of you guys know that. And I know a lot of you guys also know that I do a lot of work within the stuttering community, trying to change people's perception.
All right, I'm going to stop there quickly. The reason why I play that video is this was taken from when? This was some time back, wasn't it? Maybe a year maybe?
A year ago, yeah.
Yeah, and well, people don't realize that it isn't a straightforward journey, WOMS, and I kind of see it as a long-term upward trend, but you're gonna be doing this. So you'll be up and down, but you'll overall be going up. And dude, like, we've been running this daily podcast now. This is the 13th day, and you've turned up. You've turned up, and you keep coming back. The times you haven't been able to, you genuinely have clashes with other meetings and stuff, and you can't come, but you keep turning up, and we can both agree, all three of us will agree, that your speech in progress is probably, you can honestly say that you were stronger in that video, the one I displayed. And but it isn't always about that, because I always like rate you if you can turn up for the bad days and perform. If you can turn up for the bad days and perform, that's when you are truly comfortable, because if you constantly wait for your best days to do what you need to do, as in you probably won't get them done, because the best days you can't time them, but the worst days or the lesser days, if you're prepared and if you're comfortable on those days, then you can achieve anything. And that's why I was going to say, like, because I commend you. You're still working, applying your principles, and you are attacking the things in life that mean the most to you. And that's the main thing. So that's in the end what stop holding back is. Like, think about the word stop holding back. Don't let anything hold you back. And speech is one of the things. You've kind of gone beyond that point. So just this was more of a demonstration to whoever's listening that isn't about waiting or working or getting a speech in a good place to do what you want to do. When you want to do it, you will do it. When you want to do it, you will do it. And if you keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect moment, waiting for your speech to be in the perfect place, what, you can be waiting till you're 30, 40, 50 years old. There's no guarantee we'll even get to that point. And that's the bottom line nowadays. Like, the time is now. And that's why I've got to say, man, like, I proper rate you, because you are putting yourself on the line, people on your back, people wanting you to fail. There's genuinely people out there waiting for you to rock up at the job centre.
I'm ready for them, bro.
It's people waiting for you to rock up at Wembley and Bristol and those places. And it's true, but you still turn up. They don't wait for me. It's how I roll. But they're waiting for you. They want to see you fail. And
man. And you know what? I'm not gonna.
It's amazing because you just keep going, like, year after year after year. So that wasn't really a question or really anything. It's more of a thank you for demonstrating to us that, like, you can, like, bypass this crap. I know Chris has had his own downs past few months, and mate, like, two of you would not even realize it. You would not even realize the amount of crap you two have gone through recently. Like, it's actually incredible, and it's more of a success story of charity that you can do this, and it gives other people faith that this thing works. You don't have to, like, get back on track and like, wait for the next 3-day pill or 4-day pill. Like, you already have everything you have, because you have managed to coach yourselves and coach each other through some of your most trying and troublesome times. Don't hold back here. What's going on?
Me hold back? That don't make sense, bro.
Go on. Have you got anything to add?
I was just gonna say, it's so true, because stop holding back. Just the mentality and the support group I have around me has allowed me to get through all of these bad times that I've been through over the past 6 months. And I've been through some extremely hard times, but I'm still here, and my speech is all right. Like, I can communicate and get stuff done because I have my friends and I have the tools as well at the same time. So me and Chris has got his own story. He's been through a lot as well this year, a hell of a lot. So we are the testimonials, the true, real, hardcore testimonials of Stop Holding Back, of how achieving this mentality with some technique can transform your whole life and make you into a stronger person, a much stronger person, and build your character just your resilience in life.
Go on, CJ.
I was just going to add that this is where the art of being able to self-coach, and also knowing that you have your support network around you if you need to reach out, it is so important. You know, there was times last year where I just called AO and I said, you know what, I can't be doing with this. I don't want to focus on speech. I don't want to know. I don't want to do nothing, you know. And sometimes you need that little push, and you need a few people around you. And it's not necessarily other people pushing you. It's just by their actions and what they're doing, it motivates you, it pushes you, it makes you feel like, well, look at what they're doing. I really have no excuse. Even though I'm going through my own situation, they're still going through theirs and they're still cracking on. And if you're not surrounding yourself by these type of people, it's so easy to fall back and give up. It's so easy. And also, I never really looked at it like that, Ruben, but yeah, there's a lot of people that are sitting back, waiting for everything to fail, waiting for all of this to not work out. And like, maybe there's people that they would love like nothing more to hear that Stop Holding Back no longer exists, maybe, but it just...
Mate, it'll be music to people's ears. There'll be fireworks going off.
Yeah, I was trying to play it down a little bit. I was trying to play it down.
What, man? Like, there'll be there'll be a lot of people, but to be honest, they'll be waiting a long time, if any time, because like as I truly believe that as long as us three are alive and walking on this earth, the Stop Holding Back and mentality and the coaching, the approach will always be alive, because that's it. It isn't any one person or of us. It's a mentality, it's principles. It's principles, and that is what it's all about. Looking to wrap up in the next 5 to 6 minutes. So now's the time. You guys got any questions for me? Facebook feed is still, I can't see any questions today. Everyone must be out and about, breaking lockdown. I'm further getting a bit restless. Go on, guys, hit me. Hit me. What do you have? Thanks for watching SHB. Go on.
Well, one question. So, what's your advice for anyone who's reached a level and they're trying to just expand their ability to communicate, not to stop stuttering, but just to come off more professional? Say they want more power in their voice and energy. What's your advice to those people to have reached the point where they're just trying to become a better communicator?
Yeah, so there's one thing you guys did not mention in that entire thing, was that when we were talking about speech progress and self-esteem and all these other things, one thing you guys did not mention at all, and it's a simple thing: money. How can working on the speech impact you economically? How many like world-class public speakers do you know, without being disrespectful for anyone, how many world-class public speakers do you know working in like B&Q, stocking shelves and mixing paint? Now that was a rhetorical question, but
No.
I would assume no. The point I'm trying to make is, like, what are you doing for like your employment? What are you doing as an income earner? Is there anything more you can do? Because if you've reached a level of communication, because in the end, if you can communicate, if you can deliver messages, like, that is like the one of the principles of management for leading teams, companies, business. So as in like, if you can elevate your working life, so you start to immerse yourself in that type of environment. So it becomes like a daily routine to be pitching your idea, your business idea to investors. If you're looking to start a charity like us, grant applications, you'll be trying to justify your work. So it's one thing going to a school and like talking about your journey and getting hugs and flowers afterwards. Now, like pitching your work, pitching your idea, pitching yourself to people who have the resources to help you, and they will be critiquing you, breaking you down, finding holes in your arguments, and can you defend yourself? And doing these types of things, putting yourself in these environments, and then you can really take your speech and your self-esteem to the next level. Because as soon as you are under threat, as soon as people are really judging you and trying to find holes and negativity, and they'll point it out, that's when you feel at your most vulnerable. So you've got to put yourself in those situations now and hold firm and really justify yourself. So like, look around you. What are you doing for work? Like, what is your place of employment? Because it's all good going from someone who starts to being fluent. If that was the hardest thing in the world for you, if that was what you perceived as impossible, then based on that, so many other things are possible. So it's up to you to like take it as an action to actually improve the life of yourself and the people around you, and take everything to the next level, because that's what personal development is all about. And working on your speech can be working on your life. That's it.
That was great, and I totally agree. Stop holding back.
Thank you. Very kind of you to say so.
Chris, any last words?
Yeah, go on, Chris.
I agree too. I think working on your speech and working on your life go hand in hand. There was a great point that you raised there, Ruben. Like, I've always been told people are not. If you pitch for investment, for example, the people usually are not investing in the idea. They're investing in you, and they have to believe in you. And the next level to working on your speech is to the point that you can get to the point that you can speak passionate about something. You can put your point across. You can be enthusiastic. You're not standing there just worried about executing a technique and losing all other aspects of the communication. You're able to really sell yourself as well as whatever idea it is. People have to believe that you are the person to execute this idea, not just execute a speech technique. And that, for me, is the next level.
Yeah, I totally agree, Chris. There's all my points. So thank you for commenting and adding an area as well for your really, really good personal insight, because really open up a bit, show that you are a big softie, and you'll love it. I think our time is up. I'm gonna let Ao and Chris close the show, but I'll take a step back this time. So guys, how would you like to end this episode? Any powerful one-liners that you want to drop in?
Powerful one-liners.
Put you on the spot, man. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, put me on the spot. I just want to say thank you for everyone that tuned in. I can see that Callum's made a comment. Another cracking podcast, lads. It's really opened my eyes tonight, been proper interesting. So thank you very much for that. Ao, over to you to finish it off.
And don't forget, guys, stop holding back.